knows about the Jedi Order, and then use all the tips and tricks and all those things to create a new band of bad guys. I don't know if you want to call them Sith or like the whole thing of Sith or whatever, but basically use the Jedi's tactics and history and expertise against them, because Hu Yang has all of that stored in his system. He was there from the beginning, and he was able to escape because he's not a Jedi, so they didn't like focus on taking out a droid. You know, they didn't have any idea, but now they got an idea that they're getting their information from somewhere. The scan, they knew that the ship was a hyperspace ship or a hyperspace ring. They knew that Balin Skull's lightsaber was his. So, you know, they're getting all this information. They gotta know it's come from somewhere. So if they can put it together that Hu Yang has all of this information about the Jedi from the very beginning, they are able to kidnap him and program it to where he can give up that information to them, and they can use that information to create their own like anti-Jedi. I know like the anti-Jedi is considered the Sith, but like let's put aside for now and just think about creating something anti-Jedi without any sort of, it's almost like an army, not so much an idea, because I think the Sith and the Master and Apprentice thing is like an idea of like power and growing in an empire, like, you know, the Palpatine and Anakin and so on and so forth, Palpatine and Darth Maul, whatever. There's always two, the Master and the Apprentice. That's the whole Sith thing. Well, instead of that, thinking about building a fucking army, and I think that would be like dope, to build an army full of people who are trained in the Jedi ways but are like bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like that would be badass, to be honest with you. So I don't know. Do you think that's a cool idea to have them kidnap this droid that knows everything and kind of utilize that information against him? And now all of a sudden you really kind of fuck, because now you got to really come together with these individuals that have all the knowledge of these old historic Jedi and all the stories and all this. Now you got that, and it's being used against you. I think that'd be kind of sick.
And we actually have an interesting facts TikTok on this I made a couple years ago, because they came out with a book that it depends on what you really decide to call canon. But you know, Star Wars books, even though they're considered canon, they have all sorts of writers. There was one writer, there's a book called The Ronin that's tries to explain the original first Jedi that became a Sith. And he's called The Ronin because basically he was the only one to first go out on his own, and it describes these Jedi that basically worked for lords that told the Jedi what to do, whether it was taking over like villages and towns. And he was the first one, long story short, to say he wasn't going to take over this town, and went off on his own, kind of like Balin Skull. And ironically, it actually features very briefly, and this is on our TikTok so you can look at it, the Dark Sisters of Dathomir. And what the Dark Sisters were doing was using magic to create basically like, they weren't exactly Sith, but like kind of like possessed Jedi in a way. So it's very interesting, kind of similar to what you were saying, which like maybe at this point you could do something like that.
Well, for sure. I mean, they've already introduced the Nightsisters of Dathomir in this series. So, like, yeah, dude, this is the perfect time to do something like that. I'm sorry to kind of jump in there, but you just really got me thinking, because you're like, yeah, they did this piece of work in literature that you read had the Nightsisters of Dathomir, and they did a possessed type of Jedi thing. Like, dude, I didn't even know that. Like, he just told me that for the first time. I was just spitballing ideas. Like, this is a perfect time to fucking pull this together. But anyways, I'll let you finish your thought on it. Sorry.